I wanted to start this podcast before, but I always had this conversation like, oh, you gotta be very careful what you say, and you have to be very eloquent, and you have an accent, and you're gonna make stupid mistakes. And then I decided all these things that are happening in this country, everybody needs to talk about this. And I want to start this podcast today. So my first episode is completely unedited, untouched. I only put some compression and I made it sound a little bit better and I put some music in the background, but I decided not to edit it, just, respect the silences where the silences were and respect these kind of things, the ums, and respect whatever mistake I make idiomatically, being that obviously English is not my first language. So I officially start this podcast today. And my first issue is I just came to the realization, because Florida to me is a dear place. I lived many years in Florida. But lately, I have been calling Florida Flora Turd because their behavior has been, since I came back to the United States, it was always like that. But when I came back, after being abroad for so many years, traveling does that to you. So, to all you Trumpsters of the world, travel. Go take these last months before the election. Go travel. Go to Europe. Go to South America. Go to a shithole country and learn a couple of things. And Miamians, you so-called Cubans, go to Cuba. Fucking go to Cuba. Go talk to the people in Cuba. All right? Stop talking about Cuba. Go to fucking Cuba and learn about Cuba and ask them if they are unhappy. Trumpsters are pretty much like Christians, but instead of Christ, they want to force you to their idea of freedom. So these are one of the things that I see on Facebook that completely made me lose hope in humanity. Okay? So my friend, a fellow musician, posts something about the reality with this fucking orange is the new stupid. And eventually somebody says that, I think it was, it was something about like Pelosi reaping the I can't remember what it was, and it really doesn't matter. The point is that in all this political discourse, there's always the two sides of the coin. And because this happened, both of these people, this friend of mine is based in Miami, Flora Turd, then most of the comments comes from the same place, Flora Turd. Okay, most of the people are in Miami, which is kind of liberal, but being kind of liberal in a state like Florida is like being a bubble of soap surrounded by a universe of diarrhea. All right? You cannot sustain so much impermeability against the diarrhea. A couple of molecules always filter down. And you see a lot of these people, all these fucking so-called Cubans. And I think that's what's happening now with the reality of this country is very similar to what happened in the Cuban Revolution. And I just got this realization because some dumb, I won't say cunt, but I don't want to be so mean. It's just that's how angry I am. I am so angry that I want to say cunt. And I don't want to call her a cunt. She's not. She's a person. She's a person and she's got a life and she probably has people that she loves and people that loves her. And it breaks my heart how these people are so gullible and so manipulable. So she says, eventually my friend says, yeah, but anything is better than a Trumpster or Trump. And this lady says, well, be careful what you wish for. Everybody thought that whatever comes after Batista is going to be better. But look, they were all wrong. And now, thanks to that comment, I get to see that this is exactly what's happening here. Because this girl thinks that Castro was leading the revolution to become the dictator. And it wasn't like that. Like, the people, the 95% of Cubans, were so oppressed and so tired and so fucking... And when Castro comes and tells them, hey, you know what? While you are this shitty, some guy there is making all the money you don't have because he's rigging the game for himself. And eventually, it's gonna get the people that are now in what you call the middle class. Most of them, after that, by the way, those are the ones who fled to Miami. And the oligarchs fled to Miami, and then the oligarchs and all these Cubans that came to the United States, they came and then they told them, oh, you are against communism? Well, come on down, there's a table ready for you, get citizenship, go vote and run for office. But then they get to say, oh, I'm an immigrant too. No, dude, you're not an immigrant, you just changed neighborhoods, motherfucker. The immigrant has to pay thousands of dollars, and has to jump millions of hoops so we can get a fucking visa. So don't tell me that you're also an immigrant. You need to start, cultivating yourself, my friend, musician, singer in Miami, who thinks that Bernie is comparable to a dictator. Let me tell you what happened in Cuba, now that I gave you a little bit of a context here. What happened in Cuba is this. There were people oppressing a lot of other people, like a minority was oppressing a majority. The majority got woken up by a guy called Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, and what they told him was like, dude, you're being fucked in the ass. Wake up, motherfucker. So they woke up and they took their island. They actually removed the bullies from office. If they hadn't been such bullies like the Republicans are being right now, there would have never been a revolution, because for you to have a revolution, you need somebody to cause that revolution. Nobody revolts for anything. Nobody revolts for nothing. Nobody wants to risk their lives and their property and whatever little they already have for nothing. When you have a revolution, it's because something. And in the case in Cuba was that probably your family, my dear friend, so-called Cuban. And I keep calling them so-called Cubans because they are not Cubans. They were born in the United States. Oh yeah, but I have Cuban heritage. Yeah, very nice. I have Lithuanian heritage. I'm Argentinian. You have Cuban heritage. You're American. You are a white Republican gringo with a Hispanic last name. That's all. Like Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio was born in the United States and their parents probably go like, hey, vamos a llamarlo Marco. And that was it. So now a gringo has a Hispanic name. Wow. The roots you have to Latin America are so deep that you have never visited Latin America. Every one of you who talks like that is because you have never traveled. You have no idea what it is to be Latin American. You have no idea what it is to be an immigrant. Yet you call yourself both things, and I am here to protest. And I am here to say that you are not any of those things. And these are my arguments. You are not an immigrant. You got free citizenship. You got the right to vote immediately. okay? Don't compare yourself to all the shit we have to go through until we finally can vote you out. And that's the other thing. So, I'm sorry, coming back to Cuba. So, it's not that Fidel, and with Bernie, this is what's happening with Bernie. You think an old man, 70 something year old man, is gonna be a dictator and is gonna like, it's gonna go out to war and become a dictator? Are you stupid? Yes, actually, you are stupid, but I'm trying to help you here. Because we can all be stupid in something. I'm very stupid when it comes to, automobile mechanics. Sorry, I am really like useless. So I consider myself stupid in that. I don't consider myself stupid in critical thinking and skepticism. And all I'm trying to do is tell you, look, whatever ideas you hold, whatever ideas you like, just, defend them with honesty, because it's not only you're impacting me and other billion people when you refuse to think and become a tribalist, indoctrinated zombie. You dig? You dig? I have no dog in the game. It's dog in the race. Whatever. Just think about it. Anyway, the people, if let's say that Trump doesn't concede, and he won't concede because he never concedes, he never loses. He said about the difference between him and Nixon is that he doesn't leave. He said it, just look it up. Use your critical thinking skills. Don't take it from me. Go look it up. Just Google, did Trump say Nixon leaves, I never leave? Just put Trump, I never leave. Or put Trump, Nixon, I never leave. I mean, I'm gonna give you instructions to search on Google so you start putting shit in your brain that actually is worth something. Because here's the other thing. Let me just finish the story with Bernie Sanders. Fidel Castro didn't lead a mob to become a dictator. He was put there as a leader because these were all uneducated motherfuckers and they needed somebody with a brain. So they put Fidel Castro. Che Guevara was offered the gig and he said, fuck you, I'm going to Bolivia. So it's not that Fidel Castro said like, yeah, you all gonna put me in power. No, dudes, that's not how it happened. Just like it's not the way it's gonna happen with Bernie. Bernie is gonna say, you lost. When Donald Trump doesn't concede, Bernie Sanders is gonna say, you lost. You need to step down of the office. Fuck you, is gonna say Trump. And Mitch McConnell is gonna help him, and Brett Kavanaugh is gonna help him, and William Barr is gonna help him, and all the apparatus that you give power to. And that's what's gonna happen, That's what's gonna happen. So Bernie's gonna go like, stay down, go, I am the new president. And when he says no, the Bernie or bust are going to get in arms as well. And the difference, and this is what's going to happen, you are less than them. That's the problem. So the thing that happened in Cuba is going to happen here. Now, what's going to happen after that? I don't know. All I know is that today in 2020, what Bernie Sanders is offering to the people who are being oppressed, like the other 95% in Cuba. And check out the number. Back then was 95. Now it's 99. That's why he calls it a 1%, because that 1% are fucking with all of you, including you who bought this shit about comparing Bernie Sanders with Fidel Castro. But let me tell you this. Bernie Sanders is offering now this. Get educated, free. Get healthy, free. And he also is saying, Let's cure this planet for the next generations. Now let's go back, I don't know, 70 years. Because that's the other thing, my little friend, musician, singer from Miami. You live in the past. Batista and Fidel Castro, who was offering them get healthy and get educated. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. Isn't it a parallel? I see it as a big parallel. And now you're starting to see with your own eyes. How is it that Cuba happened and all the lies that your family told you? Because you know why the 95% took back Cuba against the oligarchs who had to move to Miami and get free citizenship so they can vote and run for office, so they can lobby against these people? Or you think that Cuba became poor because of communism? No. When Fidel Castro was in power, he didn't even call it, he wasn't even a communist, you dummy. Cuba wasn't communist. In fact, Che Guevara came and spoke with the United Nations and said, we don't want to stay in power. But your father didn't tell you that. Go look it up. It's a speech he gave in the United Nations. He actually offered a meeting. He asked for a meeting with the President of the United States. I think it was Roosevelt. I'm not sure. But whoever it was, Fidel Castro asked for a meeting with the guy, and he sent some shitty, I don't know, like the guy who cleans the bathroom to tell him the president won't be able to see you today. You don't know this because your parents never told you this. Because, you know, it's like if the pastor tells you about slavery and homophobia in the Bible, they're not going to tell you that. No, they tell you the things that work for them. The same happened with you, my friend, the singer in Miami, who thinks that Fidel Castro was worse than Batista. That's the other thing. These so-called Cubans have been duped with this shit for so long that they believe it just like a Christian believes that there was a flood and that there was a Garden of Eden. Ha. And then there was going to be, and then there's a hell. And if you're a homosexual, then you go to hell. And it's okay to go and tell somebody, you fucking fag, God hates you. Yeah? Well, this is the same, but political. That's why they think they can wear a t-shirt with Che Guevara's face with the word fag, like Juanito did. He probably still owns that t-shirt. This is, and Juanito, I use Juanito all the time because Juanito represents that pocket. The pocket that was, because Juanito is not stupid. Juanito, I mean, yeah, he's fucking dumb as shit, but in this, when it comes to music, he's fucking Rembrandt. You understand? And when it comes to being a friend, he's fucking Da Vinci. But when it comes to politics, he's Chucky. No, not Chucky. What was the name of this character? The character with Down syndrome. Yeah, I'm comparing him with Down syndrome. So what? Fuck you. You can take this orange is the new stupid. You can, if you're strong enough to take that shit, you can take a joke. Fuck you, if you don't like it. Yes, when it comes to politics, Juanito is fucking. What was the name of the character, man? Chucky? No, Chucky was the little doll. Krusty is the clown. Krusty, he's a, I don't know, Opie from Family Guy, Opie. Juanito, when it comes to politics, is Opie. And even stupider than Juanito, his wife. His wife is so stupid when it comes to all this that she is almost like appears as evil. But I can't fathom any of them as evil. They're not evil. They care for their friends, they care for their children. I know that firsthand. But when it comes to politics, unfortunately, they are pretty much like a fundamentalist Christian. I'm sorry, Juanito, I am sorry, because I can appreciate the kindness you present with other people. I can appreciate your talent as a musician. I can appreciate you as a colleague. True, too. I mean, if I have to speak about Juanito, all I can say is good things. But this is so harmful that I can't not say it. I find myself in the moral place. Look, great example, Mitt Romney. He found himself in the very frontier of morality. And he said, either I'm going to be a moral person or I'm going to be an immoral person. And he chose to be moral. Yeah, and Juanito is going to say, oh, that's your opinion. Yeah, but my opinion is based on facts, on observation. And by the way, Juanito, you don't need to be, well, sorry, I'm going to Juanito. This is not about Juanito. I'm sorry, Juanito. I apologize. I'll bring you up some other day. But you know what, Juanito? This is what I'm going to say before closing this. You can see yourself reflected on this, because I am, at this particular time, I'm speaking about this lady singer who lives in Miami, who was at my friend's page comparing Batista, saying that Batista was better than Castro, which means how duped you guys has been, because this is happening right now equally, but in English. And it's gonna end up the same way Cuba ended, because it happened all the time. It happened all the time. The only reason this is something that you're gonna have to get. This is never ending until you guys are kicked out. And you're gonna go, instead of Miami, this time, who knows, you're gonna go to Moscow, or you're gonna go to Saudi Arabia, who knows? I know I'm going to Canada, that I know. But you either gonna stay here and gonna suffer what other people suffer, because this is, and not because this is not a threat. I am showing you how history works. Since Vietnam was a copy of Cuba. It wasn't a world war in which, like, a lot of countries decided to, get against other countries. This is not what's going to happen. This is going to be internal. And this is what's so brilliant about Putin. And you have to give it to Mr. Bitch McKremlin, the chess master. Because if it wasn't for him and your support, lady singer from Miami, your support, you give, the moment you think that there is something worse, that Bernie's worse, the idea that you're bringing to the table that Bernie could be worse than Trump, just shows me how little use of critical thinking you have. Let me help you out here. Trump is destroying the planet, and I don't know about you, but I know that my friend, the owner of the Facebook page in which I read your comment, he has 3 kids. And Bernie Sanders is saying we need to protect the planet for your kids. You, on the other hand, are saying, I don't know if that's better than the other guy who puts some oil motherfucker in the EPA. But hey, that's just my opinion, right? That's just my opinion. It's not a fact. A fact is that Bernie Sanders is saying we gotta save the planet, you need to be educated, and you need to be healthy. Because without health, you have nothing. If you think that money is more important than health, go and speak with the person who can't afford a cancer. Oh, well, he should have thought about it better. He should have worked harder. Yeah, like everybody has the same opportunities in the world because the world has shown it. Yeah, well, I know some guy from Nigeria who, did this and did this, so he worked really hard and he became, so you point to the singularity, I get it. Let's do one thing. When you tell me about millions of Nigerians that could do that in Nigeria without having to, because the last time a friend of mine told me, oh, well, I'm going to tell you the story of this Nigerian who did this, now he lives in Europe. No, show me the Nigerians who do that in Nigeria. And then you tell me if everybody has the same opportunities than you. Oh, but I know somebody in Bolivia who it's funny because all these people that you know about who used to live in these countries, in these third world countries, in the most poverty infested parts of the world, you point me always to that singularity, and you always end up with, and now he lives in the United States, or now she lives in Europe, or now she lives in Australia. In other words, what you're showing me is the only one who could escape from misery. Not the one who built and produced. And the reason why they don't do that is food for another episode. I'm not going to say it today. All I want to say today is how similar this is with the Cuban Revolution. And remember, my dear friend who lives in Miami, who thinks that Bernie would be worse than Trump. Eventually, the majority will get sick of it. It's going to happen. That's what happened in Vietnam. It's what happened in Cuba. It's what happened, let me think, in Afghanistan, in Iraq. You try to put your oligarch ways, and you go to, in Bolivia, you did it in Venezuela, and you did it in Cuba. You did it in Argentina. I lived through that dictatorship, courtesy probably of your family, Juanito, or of your family, girl singer in Miami who thinks that Batista was better than Castro, or even worse. I'm sorry, I should word it like you did. Like Castro was worse than Batista. Or that Bernie could be worse than this asshole. What's happening in Flora Turd? You guys should be called Flora Turd. I'm sorry, I'm going to use it until I am finally proven wrong. But Flora Turd have shown to be so retard every fucking time. And I can see why. These people speak because it's free, but when you catch them in their bullshit, they double down. No, I live in an alternative reality. Fuck you. Batista was better than Castro, and I am gonna make it, because my daddy told me, and I'm never gonna read about it. Fuck that speech in the United Nations. Fuck all that. Fuck facts. That's a tongue twister for me. Let me try again. Fuck facts. There you go. Putos. The parallels are overwhelming. So my dear friend from Miami who sings, stop being stupid. Start using your critical thinking. Stop. If you see Fox, if you see the name Fox, get out of it. Stay away from it. You do not want to see Fox, just like you don't want monosodium glutamate or aspartame. Stay away from that shit. Hey, don't go watch MSNBC, okay? Stay away from that shit too. Try to stay in the center. And you will be called leftist because you can't go any farther right than what we have now. You understand? Anybody, it's a lefty. Anybody who's against these people is a lefty. Even Mitt Romney is now a lefty. You dig? Start using your puto cerebro. Now, Mitt Romney is going to be considered the left, and that's not even then. not even then you're gonna realize how stupid you are being. Oh, Bernie's gonna be worse than what we have now. Yeah, the old motherfucker who wants to save the planet, who wants to feed your children, who wants to educate your children and keep them healthy, that guy is worst. All right. Today is Sunday, so I'm guessing I'll be doing this every Sunday. Although I think it's just as things to talk about come forth, I am probably going to start talking about them. So this is probably going to be very atemporal, if you ask me. I'll try to maintain a discipline, but discipline was never my forte. So let's see what happens here. However, if you want to leave a comment about something I said, please do so.